to Your Path to Career Success, the podcast that helps you build the skills, confidence and strategies to thrive in your career. I'm your host Catherine, and today we're continuing Phase 3, Expanding Influence Beyond Your Function. Last week we explored how to build alliances at the top table, how collaboration, trust and enterprise thinking elevate your impact. This week we're shifting to another core executive capability, communicating with impact in the boardroom. How to present insights and recommendations that truly shape executive decisions. Here's the reality. At senior levels, your ability to communicate with clarity, precision and influence determines how your ideas are received and whether they drive action. The best insights don't win by themselves. They win when they're framed strategically, delivered with confidence and aligned with what matters most to the business. What I'll share in this episode. In this conversation, I'll walk you through the mindset shifts that differentiate transactional reporting from strategic communication, how to craft boardroom messages that command attention and drive decisions, common pitfalls that undermine your influence in executive settings, and a reflection exercise to strengthen your communication impact immediately. At the boardroom level, communication isn't about sharing data, it's about driving direction. Executives don't want to be impressed with detail. They want clarity about what matters, why it matters, and what decision or action is needed next. Your goal is to make complex information accessible, actionable, and aligned with enterprise priorities. Below are 3 key areas to master: mindset, message, and delivery, each supported by examples, practical approaches, and reflection prompts. Number 1. Shift from reporting to recommending. Senior leaders often fall into the trap of reporting information instead of shaping decisions. At the boardroom level, facts alone don't persuade, insight does. Your job is to connect information to implications and to offer a clear, confident recommendation. For example, the finance director once opened a board update with a 10-page slide breakdown of quarterly metrics. The numbers were accurate, but executive left unclear on what action was required. Contrast that with another leader who summarised the same data in 3 points. Here's the trend. Here's what it means for our strategic priorities, and here's the action I recommend. That clarity drove immediate alignment and action. So here's a practical approach. Always ask, what does this mean for the business before presenting any data? Lead with insights, not background. Use supporting detail only when needed. Frame recommendations around enterprise impact. This will strengthen market positioning, not this improves our team's metrics. And end with a clear call to action or decision required. So for your next board update, think about rewriting it using a 3-line framework: key insight, business implication, and recommended action. So here's a reflection prompt for you. Where in my communication do I default to reporting rather than recommending? Number 2, crafting a compelling executive narrative. Every boardroom presentation tells a story, even if you don't call it one. The most influential communicators know how to turn information into a narrative that makes sense of complexity and inspires confidence in the path forward. For example, a strategy leader presenting a new market entry plan began not with data, but with a framing question. What would it take for us to double our international footprint in 2 years? That simple narrative hook transformed attention and engagement levels. So here's a practical approach. Open with why. Give some context and purpose, which helps build relevance. Structure your message as situation, insight, recommendation, and impact. Use visuals to simplify complexity. Clarity beats detail every time. And anchor your story in enterprise outcome, so growth, risk, efficiency, and innovation. So when you're drafting your next presentation, think about using a 1-page narrative outline. Aim for 3 core messages only. That way, your document is much clearer for the reader. So a reflection prompt for you. Does my communication inspire clarity and confidence, or do I overwhelm with detail? Number 3, leading with presence and precision. In the boardroom, how you say something is often as important as what you say. Executive presence is not about charisma. It's about composure, confidence, and control of your message under pressure. For example, a divisional leader faced challenging questions from the board on cost projections. Instead of over-explaining, she paused, acknowledged the concern, and gave a concise, data-backed answer. That moment of calm authority built credibility far more than a polished deck ever could. So here's a practical approach. Prepare your key points so you can deliver them succinctly, even under scrutiny. Embrace silence. Pausing communicates confidence. Answer questions directly, then stop. Avoid the urge to fill the space. And maintain eye contact and tone that signals conviction without defensiveness. So think about recording yourself summarising a complex topic in 90 seconds, and then review it for clarity, brevity, and confidence. So here's a reflection prompt for you. How do I show up under pressure? Do I show up as being calm and clear, or reactive and detailed? So here's now some common traps to avoid in the boardroom. Even seasoned leaders can fall into patterns that dilute their message and weaken their influence at the top table. Recognising these traps and consciously countering them will elevate how you're perceived in the boardroom and how effectively you drive executive decisions. Trap 1. Drowning in detail. Overloading the board with background information, technical data, or lengthy context instead of leading with key insights. At this level, detail doesn't demonstrate competence, it dilutes impact. When your audience has to sift through too much information to find the point, your message loses power. For example, a senior operations leader presented a 20-minute update filled with charts and commentary on process improvements. The data was solid, but the board tuned out within minutes because the central message, business outcome, was buried. Another leader distilled the same content into 3 slides. Here's what's working, here's what's not, and here's what we need to decide. That version prompted focused discussion and an immediate alignment. So how to counter it? Start with the decision, not the data. Ask yourself, what do they need to know to make an informed choice? Limit supporting detail to what directly drives or explains that decision. Use summaries, visuals, and one-line insights to replace dense slides or long explanations. And have extra data ready in reserve, but only surface it if a question requires it. So here's a mini exercise for you. Before your next executive update, cut your deck or notes by 50%. Force yourself to communicate the same message with half the content. Do I use detail to demonstrate preparation, or should I avoid taking a clear stance? Trap 2. Reading the slides. Using slides as a script rather than as visual reinforcement. When presenters read directly from the slides, they shift the board's focus from the message to the medium. It signals insecurity and undermines executive presence. The board wants your insight, not a narration of the text they can already see. So, for example, a marketing leader opened their board presentation by reading each bullet point word for word. Engagement dropped instantly. The conversation became one-way and transactional. In contrast, a peer used slides with minimal text and spoke to the why behind each insight. The discussion that followed was dynamic, with board members leaning in and asking forward-looking questions. So how to counter it? Treat slides as visual anchors, not content carriers. Keep slides clean and high level, key headlines, one image, or a single data point per slide. Use your voice, tone, and framing to convey meaning beyond what's shown, and rehearse without slides to build comfort speaking freely. So here's a mini exercise for you. When delivering your next presentation, once with slides, and then once again with slides hidden, you'll notice how your confidence and natural delivery shifts. Trap 3. Defending instead of influence. You need to treat board questions as challenges to defend against rather than opportunities to deepen understanding and alignment. Defensive communication narrows dialogue and positions you as protective rather than strategic. At senior levels, how you handle challenge signals your readiness for broader leadership. For example, a divisional leader was questioned sharply about cost overruns and responded by explaining every variable that went wrong. The tone became defensive and the discussion closed down. Another leader facing a similar situation acknowledged the concern, clarified the core issue, and redirected the focus to solutions. You're right, that is a risk area. Here's how we're addressing it, and here's where we need your steer. The difference, one defended and the other influenced. So how to counter it? Reframe tough questions as shared problem solving, not personal critique. Pause before responding, acknowledge, then answer succinctly. Use curiosity to de-escalate. That's a good point. Can I clarify what outcome you're most concerned about? And anchor your response in enterprise impact. Here's how this approach protects profitability, or this is the risk if we delay. So here's a little mini exercise for you. Take time to reflect on a recent board or senior meeting where you felt challenged. Write down the question asked and reframe your response in a way that would have shifted from defence to influence. So mastering boardroom communication isn't about perfecting slides or memorising facts. It's about clarity, confidence and connection. When you distill detail, own your own message and respond with composure, you transform from a presenter into a trusted strategic voice. So here's a reflection exercise for you when preparing for your next board presentation. This reflection exercise helps you prepare with intention, so you don't just present to the board, but influence it. At this level, clarity and composure are your greatest assets. Use the following steps to refine both your message and your delivery so your insights drive meaningful executive action. Step 1. Clarify the purpose. Before you open PowerPoint or start compiling data, step back and ask, what decision, alignment or action do I want the board to take? Every minute of boardroom airtime should serve a purpose. If your presentation doesn't clearly drive a choice, approval or direction, it risks becoming an information dump rather than a strategic conversation. So here's a practical approach for you. Write your purpose statement in one sentence. If you can't, your message isn't focused enough. Define what a successful outcome will look like, so clarity, agreement, endorsement or next steps, and revisit this purpose statement before every rehearsal to ensure your content aligns with it. So you need to reflect on this. Does my message drive a decision, or does it simply describe activity? Step 2. Identify the executive lens. The most effective communicators shape their message through the board's priorities, not their own. Senior stakeholders think in terms of risk, return and reputation. Your presentation needs to connect your recommendations to what matters most at that level. So here's a practical approach. Ask, what does success look like for the board on this issue? Consider their strategic lens, so growth, efficiency, risk mitigation or stakeholder impact. And tailor your framing. Move from functional value, this improves our team's efficiency, to enterprise value, this strengthens our market competitiveness. So here's a little mini exercise for you. For each key point in your presentation, note how it supports one or more enterprise priorities. If you can't link it, consider cutting or reframing it. So you need to think in terms of your reflections of this as being, am I communicating what matters to me or what matters to them? Step 3, build the narrative. A clear, concise narrative transforms information into insight. Use the 3-part structure, insight, recommendation, impact, to ensure your message is both logical and influential. So for example, insight. Customer acquisition costs have increased by 15% over the past 2 quarters. Recommendation. We should rebalance spend towards digital channels with stronger conversion rates. Impact. This shift is predicted to reduce CAC by 10% and improve ROI within 6 months. So here's a practical approach. Limit yourself to 3 core messages. More than that, and clarity is lost. Support each message with one compelling piece of data or example, and end each section with an explicit link to business impact or risk. So here's a stretch exercise for you. Storyboard your presentation on sticky notes, 1 per key point. Reorder until the flow feels crisp, strategic and outcome driven. So you need to think in terms of, does my narrative guide the board to a decision, or does it make them search for it? Step 4, rehearse for presence. Even the strongest message can be weakened by poor delivery. Rehearsal isn't about memorisation, it's about presence, pacing and confidence. The goal is to own your own material so fully that you can adapt seamlessly under pressure. So here's a practical approach. Practice aloud. This reveals where your phrasing or structure may falter. Time yourself. Boards expect brevity and precision. Record your delivery to assess tone, body language and filler words. Anticipate tough questions and rehearse concise, data-backed responses. So here's a mini exercise for you. Ask a trusted peer to role-play the board. Have them challenge your recommendations. Focus on maintaining calm authority and clarity under scrutiny. And think about it in terms of this. When challenged, do I anchor in my message or drift into justification? Step 5. Reflect and refine. The most effective communicators treat every boardroom experience as data for improvement. After your presentation, gather feedback not just on your content, but on your clarity, confidence, and impact. So here's a practical approach for you. Ask one board member or peer what landed well and what could have been clearer. Reflect on the questions asked. These reveal where your message lacked precision. And document key insights immediately. Use them to refine your next briefing. So here's a little mini exercise for you. After your next board session, journal 3 observations. Number 1, what went well? Number 2, where did I lose momentum or clarity? And number 3, what will I do differently next time? So here's a reflection prompt for you. Do I treat each board interaction as a performance or as a learning opportunity to sharpen my executive influence? So here's my final thought for today, turning preparation into impact. Preparation builds confidence, but reflection builds mastery. When you align purpose, audience, narrative and presence, you move beyond reporting to truly influencing direction. That's what defines communication with impact in the boardroom. Today, we explored how to communicate with impact in the boardroom, how to move from presenting information to shaping executive direction. The leaders who influence at the highest levels aren't just articulate, they're intentional. They connect insight to action, data to strategy, and presence to impact. Your challenge this week: take one upcoming presentation or report and reframe it using the insight, implication, recommendation model. Watch how it shifts the room's attention and your credibility. If you found today's episode valuable, subscribe, leave a review, and share it with a colleague preparing for their next executive presentation. Connect with me on LinkedIn, search Catherine Hall, The Career Owl, and visit www.thecareerowl.co.uk for more leadership tools and resources. Next week, we'll continue Phase 3 by exploring leading transformational change, guiding large-scale enterprise-level change without losing momentum. And remember, leadership impact isn't about saying more, it's about saying what matters most with confidence and clarity.